everybody, welcome to the Medical Projects YouTube channel. If you are new around here, my name is Olivia and I'm a third year medical student at King's College London. And here on the Medical Projects YouTube channel, we create tons of videos to assist you with getting your dream spot at medical school, and I offer you all of my tips and tricks and bits of advice I've learned along the way in my own medical school journey in the hopes that will make yours a little bit easier. So if you do like the sound of that, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn the notification bell on so that you can be notified every single time we post, and also make sure to go and follow us on all of our social media links. We're always publishing loads of content to assist you with your application, and we love to hear from you guys too. So for today's video, I thought I'd cover a topic that has been quite highly requested by a lot of you, and that is what to do on a gap year if I don't get into medical school. Now, we don't like to talk about rejection from medical school a lot because, you know, we're all about those positive vibes and we know that all of our viewers are going to make incredible doctors, but unfortunately it is something that 60% of applicants face because competition is fierce, and because of that more people don't get a place than do. So we need to think about what we'll do if we don't secure our place. Now, I myself took a gap year before doing my undergraduate degree in biomedical sciences, and it was the best decision I ever made, hands down. I still think of that year very, very fondly and I miss it so much. Wish I could repeat it, but unfortunately I can't. And I also have lots of friends who are in medical school who took a gap year either because they missed their grades or because they chose to, and they're going to speak to you about that today. I thought it would be great to share some stories so that you can see you're not alone if you are in the position where you're thinking, oh my goodness, what do I do with this year ahead? So I thought this video would be a great opportunity to offer you some advice and some things that you can do in your gap year to strengthen your application and have a fantastic year as well. So my first tip when it comes to taking a gap year that perhaps you didn't expect to take is to give yourself time. And what I mean by this is give yourself time to grieve and give yourself time to feel upset. It can feel like the most impossible hurdle and the most crushing blow when you don't get a spot at medical school or you miss your grades, and I know it can make a lot of people feel like, you know what, I'm just not good enough to be a doctor. But just remember that rejection is redirection, and just because you didn't get in the first time, it doesn't mean you're going to make any less of a fantastic doctor. It is just a fiercely competitive subject, it's very oversubscribed, and because of that there is just an element of luck, and some years are your year and some years they're not. Also, the application process itself is draining, and doing that alongside some really tricky A-levels is enough to make anyone want to burn out. So I think it is really important to just give yourself time to recoup, think about your options, think about what you really want to do, but most importantly, give yourself some time to relax, de-stress, and just sort through all the thoughts in your head so that you can come back stronger and really give the next year a really good shot. It's also a really good time to think about where you think your application may have been lacking. Often medical schools will give you some advice and feedback from your application. Maybe it was that your UCAT score was too low, maybe it was that you didn't have enough work experience, and those are things that you can all correct for the next year. My next bit of advice is to undertake some work experience or volunteering with some longevity. The beauty of a gap year is that even if you're retaking a subject and you've got exams in that subject, you're still going to have tons of time, and probably more so than when you were at sixth form full-time doing 3 or 4 subjects. So use that to your advantage and undertake some work experience, because that is what is going to make your application stand out. If you can show medical schools that, you know what, I had this year that I didn't expect to have, and I invested my time in making sure that this was the right field for me, and I did lots of work experience and learned a bunch of different things. If you can do that and demonstrate that you showed some commitment throughout the year to medicine, even whilst you were doing other things, that will look really impressive to admissions tutors. So things I recommend doing is perhaps thinking about getting a position as a HCA, which is a healthcare assistant. That's something I currently do and I love it. I think it's such a flexible job and it really allows me to just, you know, keep up to date with my clinical skills, but most importantly, keep up to date with my communication and interpersonal skills. This doesn't necessarily have to be volunteering. You can also get a paid position. So if you choose to be a HCA, you'll be paid for that, which is a great bit of income alongside getting some fantastic experiences. Other things you might choose to do is to volunteer as a carer or work in a hospice, and those are all really fantastic experiences that will enrich your application and will really make you stand out. You might choose to do some charity work. There are so many different opportunities for you to do. I actually did some charity work when I travelled in my gap year. I went abroad to Vietnam and I helped to build an orphanage, and that was an amazing experience. And again, a lot of the things I learned while doing that showed that I had qualities that are necessary to being a good doctor. So they're all things that you can weave into your personal statement. The next thing I recommend doing is have a look to see if there are any talks or conferences that you can attend to almost reignite your interest in medicine. And the reason I say that is sometimes when we get rejected from things, we start thinking, you know, this isn't for me, maybe I don't have the qualities to be a good doctor, but that is very much not the case. And one thing that I think is really, really cool to do is to attend conferences in an area you're really interested in. So for example, for me, I love cardiology and anaesthetics, and I did a 6-week course in anaesthetics and it was absolutely fantastic. There are so many free conferences around at the moment, especially with the current climate, and there are tons you can attend which are really, really great opportunities, not only to develop your understanding of an area of interest, but also to network. There are so many cool people you'll meet at conferences. Some of them might be researchers, in which case you might ask if you can get involved with any research, and you will also meet lots of like-minded individuals like yourself, and I think it's a really fantastic opportunity to just reignite that passion and get stuck in with something you love. Another thing I really recommend doing on a gap year is to get a job. So I said earlier that you might choose to get a job as a HCA, but even if you can't manage to get something within a healthcare sector, do so in something else. You know, if you've always wanted to work in a coffee shop or you've always wanted to work in a bookshop like my friend did, do that and do something you enjoy. Not only will you be getting paid, and let me tell you, that was a lifesaver in year 1 because I didn't have to worry about budgeting as much and it just made things a lot more comfortable, but you'll also just be doing something that you really enjoy and it gives your days a bit of structure. When you have a year looming ahead of you, it can feel a bit overwhelming, especially if you just want to go to university. So I really recommend having something which will give your days a bit more structure. Another thing you might choose to do on your gap year is to get stuck in with the medical community. There are so many different vloggers and bloggers and Instagrammers that are really, really happy to give you some application advice, and one of the best things I did before going to medical school was making my Instagram page so that I could connect with a lot of like-minded individuals. Before that, I was using my personal Instagram page to reach out to different medical students and different vloggers and ask them about their experience at different unis and just for any advice they had, and that was a really fantastic way to kind of learn about the things that I needed to do in order to improve my application, but also to just surround myself with a bunch of new people and people who shared a genuine interest of mine. So that was really, really cool to do, and I think that's something that you could definitely invest some time into on your gap year. Now, those are some of my best tips for things you can do during your gap year, but I thought I'd share some of the stories from my friends who also took gap years so that you can see that you are not alone. I know sometimes the idea of taking a gap year is a really scary one and it's not really a thought that everyone wants to entertain, but let me tell you, more often than not, with most of the people I've spoken to, taking a gap year was one of the best decisions they ever made, and I hope it will be the same for you as well. So without further ado, here is some advice from some of my friends.
Hello, I'm Ellie. I'm from Northern Ireland. I'm 19. I didn't get the grades to go to university this year. My B was in biology, so I've had to repeat that. On my gap year, I worked as a carer in the community. I also had a job as a special educational needs assistant. I've definitely learned so much. The main thing for me being resilience, probably. Learning to cope with failure, multiple setbacks. I've learned to persevere, put hard work in. Now I feel like I'm good at those jobs where I did not feel that at the start. I've learnt how to study properly, and you'd think I learnt this in school, but I didn't. Time management hasn't always been my best thing, but I've definitely improved that. I had clients relying on me to get them out of bed, to get them their medication and their food, repeating my biology A level and like balancing my jobs. My general time management has got so much better. My friends will vouch for me on that one. This isn't really something you can learn, but my confidence has definitely grown massively. A contributing factor to that is me learning to trust my own judgment more this year. My advice for anyone who's worried about taking a gap year would be allow yourself time to feel upset. I was so gutted when I didn't make my grades. I was so gutted that I didn't get in. It felt like the end of the world. It was such a huge knock to my confidence. But also I would say that you need to recognise that there's a time where you have to get up and get on and get over this. Again, links back to resilience. Focus on yourself. For me, that was to find jobs that gave me new experiences. I actually joined a theatre group this year. For you or someone else, that could be like traveling or starting your own business, like whatever works for you. Another thing that really helped me was keeping medicine in sight and keeping motivated. Also, medical YouTubers really helped me this year. I have found it so helpful watching their videos to keep me motivated. And the last thing, it's okay to rest on your gap year. Don't get me wrong, like it's really good to be busy and be productive, but it can also be just as productive resting and recharging your batteries. Medicine is a difficult course. It's been a difficult year and a bit now. And, you know, if you want to take a gap year and just rest and do things you enjoy all year, then that is just as beneficial. You will still learn things, you will still grow, you will still become more mature and feel more ready probably by the time you go to start medicine. If it's for you, it will not pass you by. And this gap year was definitely for me, even though it felt like a massive punch in the stomach at the start.
Hey everyone, I'm Zane and I'm a second year medical student in Sheffield, and I did take a gap year. I took a gap year between my A-levels and starting university, and looking back on it, I think it's one of the best decisions I ever made, and that's for a number of reasons. So taking that gap year, it was a great break for me, and I think that's the number one reason why I would recommend taking a gap year, is that you've been studying all your life. If you think about it, you started off in primary school, you went to secondary school, you did your GCSEs, you went to A-levels, and it's just that you've been studying so hard for so long now, and it's before going into university, and especially if you're doing medicine, because it's a 5-year course as well, and you know your holidays are only going to get shorter, they're not going to get longer. I think having a year out would do anyone a world of good. So I went on a holiday, I went to Turkey. I loved it. It was a great break for me, and even if you say that in an interview, you know, I don't see why they would think any less of you, because you're looking after yourself. That's number one. You know, you're looking after your mental health, your physical health. You're making sure that you've got that work-life balance, which is what is required in medicine. A few other things I did. I got a job, which was part-time, not full-time. And I also volunteered for St John's Ambulance as well, so that was quite useful. They teach you first aid, so you can go to different events and you know, put those good skills to use as well. A final thing which I did during my gap year was start this page, Medheads 2020, so on Instagram. So you can search me up on Instagram if you want, Medheads 2020, and that's where I provide free A-level resources as well to help you get into medicine. And I think had I not taken a gap year, I don't think that page would be there right now. I think it was a great year just for me to, you know, work on a page, to give back to people as well. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Nishaki Manajua, and I've just completed my first year of medicine at University of Plymouth. After A-levels, I started working in childcare and supported living, and then as a healthcare assistant in a nursing home. I think taking gap years helped me to learn a lot and be more comfortable and confident in building professional relationships with people. Practicing patient-centered care, dealing with emergencies, working as a part of a team really helped me to get through the medical school interviews. And in medical school, we write reflective portfolios, and my experiences helped me to analyze the situations in more depth. And if you're thinking of taking a gap year, plan it through, make the most out of it. It could be volunteering in the community, working in retail, or traveling. Learn to work with people, because working with people is a huge part of medicine, and give yourself a break to recharge as well.
So those are all the bits of advice from both myself and my friends. I really want to thank them all for contributing. It's so fantastic to hear stories from other people, and I really hope you took some bits of advice from what they said and you found that very useful. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're planning to take a gap year or you've been forced to take a gap year, how you're feeling about it and what you are planning on doing with your year. Thank you guys so much for watching. Do make sure once again to subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn the notification bell on, and do make sure also to follow us on all of our social media links, and let us know in the comments down below if there's anything else you'd like to see from us. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you really soon. Bye!